Hi guys, how are you? It's Dr. Pam, owner of Academic Coaching for World Changers. It is so good to make a new video tonight. I've been really busy. Our season is really testing season, and until like the end of May, early June, I am packed with clients. Summer slows down a little bit, but I'm still really, really busy. But I really have some exciting news, and I just cannot wait to share with you. So I hope you've all been watching our video. You've subscribed to our YouTube channel. You've subscribed to our membership channel. I'm going to ask you something else today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a video on how we answer those test questions. As always, we're going to remind you, it is a test that is not easy. Whether you are taking the LCSW or the NCE or the LMHFT, the marriage and family exam, and this question today I'm using is applicable to all clinical exams. They're not easy. It's 6 years worth of school tied into one exam, but you do it already and you can do this. You can do this. I have faith in you. So let's look at our practice questions. Remember, we're always going to say that you are worth it. A lot of people will buy a million books. They'll buy everything they can get their hands on. Invest in really good tutoring. Invest us in us. Let us teach you, and take really good practice questions. Remember, we say that taking practice questions over and over and over again is not studying. But once you learn content, and then right before the test, about 6 to 8 weeks before the test, invest in a really good, solid test program, you can do this. So I will let you know again that we have partnered with Pocket Prep. Yes, for months and probably years. I have said to you, don't start with Pocket Prep. I'll be very honest, don't start with them. Learn content, learn content. And once you've spent some time learning content, then I want you to purchase Pocket Prep. Honestly, they're really good questions. They're content based, they're close to the test. And I want you to learn how to understand them. I think we all agree that taking questions over and over and over again without having the proper content to study really doesn't get you anywhere. But definitely use it in conjunction with our tutoring. Yeah, yes. So anyway, you'll see on our screen, that's our code. So you'll see that, be sure you copy that. It'll also be down below, so you can be sure you screenshot and copy that, or highlight it and copy that. But let's look at how we're going to use Pocket Prep and what we think about the company. Remember, I've always said to you, when it comes to studying, there are very few recall questions. There's lots of study material out there that says, who is Freud, or what are Freud's 4 stages? I promise you, the test is not like that. Remember, we tutor for all the exams, and there's no test. Even if it's at the bachelor's level, there is no test. It's just simple black and white. It's really based on Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy talks about the how we learn. So remember is what many of you got through and what you did through college to get through. You just had to remember. This test doesn't work that way. You really can understand it, but you have to apply it, analyze it, and evaluate it. And I can tell you that the Pocket Prep questions really take you that higher level thinking skills. A lot of you, again, you've tried to make sticky notes. You've tried to memorize the stages. It doesn't work that way. You have to really understand the content. Let us explain it to you. Then take test questions and really look at how it works. I think you'll find our collaboration is going to work really, really well. Again, prep with the pros. That would be Dr. Pam, Academic Coaching for World Changers, and Pocket Prep. So let's look a little bit Pocket Prep. And as they reached out to us, let's do a little research, because I'm partnering with anybody. Dr. Pam's got a huge following and we love what we do. We have an excellent passing rate. So we don't just partner with anybody. But what I found is I like the background. It wasn't just what the guys, I am sorry, Milan is barking. It is not just the questions that I like, but what I found is when I went to research the background of this company, we had so much in common. There are two guys, and I can leave the website if you'd like to go down, that started this company, and they really started off with just no money. That's how we started. We really found the need to really help people learn content and take practice tests. They weren't in the mental health field, but they have gone out of their way to hire great professionals like me to help them really write questions, understand, and explain content to the clients. Pocket Prep has grown from a two-person operation to a team of innovators, developers, managers, subject matter experts, designers, writers, and more. We are subject matter experts, and also be looking out. We're going to be test writers as well. Excuse me, question writers for Pocket Prep. The mission, of course, is to help people more effectively and as inexpensively as prepare for your tests. We do not want you to take this test over and over and over again. We do not. Pocket Prep does not want you to do that either. What we really want you to do is to understand the content. We want you to apply the content that you've already learned. You do it every day in your job. We want to teach you what test questions look like. Get in there, study with us for 90 days, include Pocket Prep in your questions, and get out there and pass this test and get it over with. Just one time. One time, that's all we want from you. 90 days, invest in yourself, and you are worth it. You will pass. So again, as an educator and a coach, I've spent decades. Remember, I've got 30 plus years in the field helping behavioral health professionals prepare for licensure. I'm very selective about the tools that I recommend. I will say to you all the time, don't use this, don't do that. I really believe in the rigor, the relevance, and the results from using Pocket Prep. That's why ACWC, Academic Coaching for World Changers, agreed to this partnership and chose to partner with Pocket Prep. Again, the test questions that we see sometimes really are not matching what you get there. When you talk about test questions, many of you have studied, and then you get to the test and you find out it's like, ooh, what is this? Face validity, remember, is the outside of the test. The outside of the test says, welcome to the NCE, welcome to the LCSW, welcome to the MSW exam. It says those great things. Content validity is, does the test question measure what you've been studying? It does. A lot of you are many times are not able to put those two things together. We know, and Pocket Prep knows that we work with the best of the best, the smartest people. You guys all had A's in grad school, right? You might have got a B because you struggled with algebra or research, but most of our students are amazingly smart. They've really never learned how to study because they didn't have to. And they've not learned how to use test questions to really learn more about the material. What you're wanting is for someone to kind of spoon feed you what's going to be on the test. And it doesn't work that way. As I said before, it's very much higher level thinking. You'll be surprised that you won't see the theorist name in the question. I've heard so many times, I didn't have any Freud questions. What? Freud is the father of talk therapy. That is not even remotely possible. Of course you had Freud questions. You just didn't see his name and you didn't recognize it. And one of the things I like about Pocket Prep is the same strategies that's used for the test. We talk about the test difficulty indicators, right? Is definitely what these test writers use. So remember, it's a reading test. It's a reading test. It's a reading test. Everybody takes the exact same test. No matter what test questions you're answering, we don't care what you do at your office. It doesn't work that way unless you see your name, your address, your social security number in that question. We don't care what happens in your office. What matters is, what does research say? What did you learn in the classroom? What does the code of ethics actually say? That's what matters. So again, we really, really like partnering with this company. I'll say to you all day, every day, it's a reading test. It's a reading test. It's a reading test. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it looks like in a question. So this is our question we're using today. And the question says, which of the following is false about the concept of ego strength? Oh God, Dr. Pam, I hate those false questions. We're going to learn how to pass those. You might have said, I was a horrible test taker. Or many people say, I'm a horrible test taker. I'm like, nah, that's a past thing. Once you've spent some time with us and had the best questions, you really will find you are not a horrible test taker. There are strategies and skills of how you take a standardized test. So we're going to, again, spend more time in the question. Which of the following is false about the concept of an ego strength? Now, a lot of you will, in the past, would just kind of go through that, read all four choices and answer. But I really want you to understand the question. What is ego strength? So let's read our four choices. We're not going to do anything yet. We're just going to really take our time to understand the question. One says greater ego strength is linked with fewer psychiatric crises. 2 says ego strengths help maintain internal stability. 3, it is the way in which the self juggles. Wow, let's try that again. It is the way in which the self juggles the demands of the world. Or 4, it's the mechanism only for coping with internal stress. Okay, so ego concepts, ego strengths. When you're sitting at that test, I want you to hear my voice. I want to be in your head over and over again. But I'm thinking ego, ego, ego. Who does that belong to, right? Which theorist does that belong to? You should know that, guys. He's our father of talk therapy, Siggy Freud, right? He talked about id, ego, and superego. Right, right. You know, Dr. Pam, my id, my devil says, oh my gosh, Dr. Pam, eat, sleep, and procreate all day, every day. Eat, sleep, and procreate. It's my typical weekend. And, you know, if you watch my past videos, you know what I like. I like to order pizza and, you know, get the big slices and the pepperoni and the sausage and have like a couple of slices before I go to bed. And then in the morning, I put it in the air fryer and put some scrambled eggs on top with some cheese. That's my it. That's my it. Oh my gosh, Pam, come on. Order pizza tonight. Order pizza. Order pizza. Oh, please, Pam, order pizza. That's my devil. My superego says, girl, did you look in the mirror? Did you look from the back? Did you see what that backside looks like? You know you don't need pizza. But I want pizza. No. What pizza? No. My id and my superego are always struggling, right? And if you watch my other videos, I'll tell you, you know, my id struggles more than other people. I don't know, but my id definitely struggles. So my ego, reality principle, the ego keeps us in check. Remember, my id is my devil. Freud said we're born with that. Eat, sleep, and procreate. Freud said we wouldn't have any babies, right, if we didn't procreate. Freud says have sex all day, every day, Pam. Remember, any question about sex is almost always a Freud question. My superego says, girl, don't you ever, ever, ever do that. My reality principle says get married. That's what marriage was made for. That's where we procreate. We have babies. We have 2 parents. That's how it works. So my ego is the reality principle. The id is the pleasure. Oh, pleasure principle. Oh. And I know that's Janet Jackson. I may not sound like her, but that's Janet Jackson. My superego, of course, is the angel. Just be perfect. Just be perfect, Pam. Perfect weight, the perfect height. Don't make a mess. Don't do anything ever wrong. Just be perfect, which is impossible. So what we're going to remember is our instincts is our id. Our reality is the ego, and morality. Wow, morality, follow the rules always is my superego. Again, ego, id, superego, sex always belongs to Freud. Always, always, always. He's our first guy that talked to us about talk therapy. So one of the things that we know about ego strengths, is we can't measure them and we can't see them. I remember back in the day, I'll be 60 this year. This is 2025, whenever you're watching this video. And I remember many, many years ago, my kids will say, when dinosaurs roamed the land. But honestly, when I was in elementary school and we were doing research reports, and you had to ask your grandparents how they survived during the Depression. And I clearly remember my grandmother's name was Miss Odessa. Everybody loved Miss Odessa. I'm the firstborn grandchild. Look at me, right? Adler had a lot to say about that. Be sure you're studying him as well. But anyway, she said, honey, we were too poor. We didn't even notice. Okay. So some of us have ego strengths that maybe we have gone through some tough things. We've gone through some tough stuff. And our ego strength, our reality principle, has learned how to deal with it. Remember, our ego defense mechanisms come into play when my ego can't handle it. So you cannot measure my ego strengths. What we believe and what Freud said is that the more I go through and I survive and I know that I can do it, then I have greater ego strengths. That's one of the reasons that we believe there's such a high rate of suicide with our white professional upper middle class men. Dentists, doctors, lawyers, white men have one of the highest suicide rates. White men account for 68% of suicide deaths. And this is in 2023. We'll get the later stats as soon as we can. But really, that's the highest suicide rate, 68%. We also know that females also think about suicide and also try to commit suicide at a not necessarily higher rate, but a high rate, but are not always as successful with men. Women like to die pretty, right? We're going to slash our wrist and lay in the bathtub. We don't want anyone to have to clean up the mess. We're going to overdose, put on makeup, and lay down and hope no one ever sees us. Again, that's not always the case. What we do know is that men use more lethal means. In my family, wow, about a year ago now, we had someone that really didn't expect. He had gotten, he developed an unexpected Parkinson's disease. I'll just put it out there. He had Parkinson's disease, and he did not want to continue to suffer. And he put a gun in his mouth. Right. So we definitely do know that, again, some people don't always have the same ego strengths. So what we know is that if I have a higher ego strength, then I'm more likely to get through some tough stuff. Some examples of people that have higher ego strengths. Again, you can't see it. Freud calls his theory projective, right? When he is helping you bring things from the unconscious to the conscious, you're projecting from your unconscious onto those pictures. That's the Rorschach, the TAT, things like that. Ego strength examples, impulse control. Again, as we get older and we really learn that, we've gone through some things, we learn that we shouldn't just run out and do everything. Now, we're not talking like medical where I'm going to diagnose you with ADHD. This is just really things that my inner strength, things you cannot measure, things that are in my pre-conscious, according to Freud, really help me develop ego strengths. Reality testing, emotional regulation. Oh, that sounds like what? DBT, that's Marsha Linehan, but absolutely. So if I have a good ego strength, I've survived some things, and I know that if my boyfriend breaks up with me, and I won't die, I won't die. When I was 16, I thought it was the end of the world if he broke up with me, and I would never recover. But as we grow older, as we've gone through more and more things, our ego strengths begin to grow. Frustration, tolerance, resilience. We learn to bounce back. We learn that, oh yeah, I've been through this. I've been up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain. I'll be okay. I don't like the valleys. I definitely don't like climbing the hill again, but I know I'll be okay. Remember, whenever you see insight, that's almost always a Freud question. Anytime you're taking test questions and it's insight, it's looking at, why did I behave that way? Most of our shorter term therapists don't have time to do that. You would never find a solution focused therapist asking you to look inside yourself. You're right. You've got 5 to 6 weeks. You don't have time for that. You would not ask my reality therapy. Reality therapy said, you did it. Take ownership for it. Okay. Autonomy. That's how we make our decisions. And hope and purpose. That sounds a lot like, what's his name? Viktor Frankl, existentialism. Absolutely. Absolutely. So our ego strengths, remember, my id and my ego, they're going back and my id and my super ego are fighting back and forth. And these are ego strengths. This is the content I want you to have when you're taking test questions. We will definitely teach you this content. You want to understand the content. You don't want to be guessing at questions. You want to understand what it's asking you so you get every question right. That's the whole goal. So now, our test taking strategy, what we in, and I said earlier, we're very aware that we work with the smartest of the smart. We got the people that really never learned how to study, and you never learned how to take a standardized test. Most of our clients we find did really, really great in grad school and undergrad. But most of you, it's called concurrent, that's the word, concurrent validity. You had to take either that GRE or have a high GPA. Most of you didn't do well on the GRE because you have never learned how to take a standardized test. And if you did, you're probably not one of our clients. So standardized testing is really what we teach. So when you have tests, we'll go back to this question. We've fully understood the question, which is the following is false about the concept of ego strengths, because I understand now what an ego strength is. We're going to read all 4. And remember, when it's a not question, We're going to talk about the things that are true. Everybody hates not questions, right? There's the way that you answer them. We're going to focus on what is true. So let's read all four. We're not going to make any decisions yet. We're going to just read all four. 1, greater ego strength is linked with fewer psychiatric crises. 2, ego strength help maintain internal stability. 3, it is the way in which the world juggles the demand. It's the way in which the self juggles the demands of the world. And 4, it's a mechanism only for coping with internal stress. Now, I really want you to take your time and process that. If you're the people that want to stop right now and come back to it, then hit the stop button or pause button and come back. I'm going to rule out what I know is true for sure. Remember, my false thing that I'm starting out, what is true? Greater ego strength is linked with fewer psychiatric crises. Yes, we just talked about that if I've gone through some stuff, I've survived some hard stuff, I've got enough ego strength to know I'm not going to like it if it happens again, but I got it. I can do this. Ego strength help maintains internal stability. Wow. Ego strength helps maintain internal stability. Or 3, it is the way in which the self juggles the demands of the world. I know that 1 and 3 are definitely true. I know that my ego is reality principle, and I know that that's what it helps me. It helps me from falling apart. It helps me get through the next day when I feel like I'm in crisis. Remember, when we have a psychiatric event, when we have a psychotic break, that is when our ego defense mechanisms, our ego strengths did not help us. Right? We were so far gone. We were so far lost. Something happened. We all have different biological makeup. And at this point, when I've gotten into a psychotic break, a psychotic episode, my ego strengths, my ego defense mechanisms aren't there to save me. So now between 2 and 4, that's where I want you to be. And again, one of these is true and the other is the answer. Did you get it right? Let's see. My answer is A. The one that is false is A. This is a great pocket prep question. It's one of the many ones that you'll see us using in our future videos. We really like these questions and we're really proud to partner with them. I want to give you another hint in this question. It is a mechanism only for coping with internal stress. Only is one of those key factors. Only is no, 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 no. We don't do only. That's very rare. Those are the absolutes. So I would never do that, or I always do that, or consider the absolute. So that's a key to let you know that question is not true. That's the one that answers the question. It's a false question. Okay. And of course, one of the greatest things about Pocket Prep, it gives you the explanation and tells you where to go back and read more about it. So ego strength refers to the ability of the ego or self to deal with the conflicting demands of one's inner self, as well as the demands of the outside world as a collection of one's ego, motivation, and learned skills in negotiating demands of the existence. Ego strength is linked to fewer psychiatric crises and actually helps maintain internal psychiatric stability. The ego strength is not only a mechanism for coping with internal stress, but a broader ability to address the demands of the environment as well. So when it said only in the question, that was the rationale. Now, one of the things that we teach is we don't want you just to memorize this for the test. We want you to recognize this in your everyday life. So as you're working with clients and you've seen clients that have gone through some stuff and they've survived. We call that the strengths approach, right? Definitely social work talks about the importance of finding the strengths in the client. If we go back and we talk about our other theories, we could talk about solution focus. It is a strengths focus, right? It focuses on what's going right. So while Freud started this ego strength, many of our other theorists have continued to use it. Bandura talks about self-efficacy. That's the belief in yourself. Remember, he also did the Bobo doll. If you're not sure about that, you can go back and watch any of our videos on his learning, right? Social learning theory that happened in the 60s, and it really changed television program in the early 70s. Yeah, I was old. We had 3 channels. What can I say? But again, all of these things, what we see in play every single day, this test, these questions will not make you a better therapist. You're good at what you do already. All we want you to do is have a really good way of understanding content. Let us teach you. Sign up for sessions with us. Watch our free videos. Take Pocket Prep, use Pocket Prep with test questions. Understand why it's that way and pass the test. We still believe in 90 days. We definitely believe that. Again, Pocket Prep always has the resources of where it comes from. So if you want to go back and you own those resources, one of the things I'm going to say to you again, please do not buy one more piece of study material. I want you to invest in Pocket Prep, and I want you to invest in tutoring with us. Let us help you understand the content. Let's help you use questions that really are more like the test. We think that that's going to get you over that hump and onto your academic journal. Like everybody else, we want to make more money, but we also want to change the world. So be sure that you get Dr. Pam's code for Pocket Prep. It is going to be listed below. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. And of course, that's where you can always find us and sign up for live sessions. Watch our free videos on YouTube. I hope to see you in a live session soon. And thank you most of all for being a world changer and investing in yourself via Pocket Prep and academic coaching for world changers. Bye, guys.